The He podcast is presented by Little Ones, made for the little ones. Who is he? He is me. Hi, I'm Rafi Redzwan. This is he. Here is my chance to share some amazing stories with some amazing people that are inspiring to me. He celebrates everyday people of everyday life. He revolves around conversations that inspire others to change the world and make a difference in life, with a little bit of laughter and a whole lot of drama. Join me for personal stories and experiences on health and healing, successes and failures, recovery and discovery, anything relatable, and anything in between. He elevates us to rise again and live our very best life. Just so you know, you are not alone. He is with you. Once upon a time, there was a mother of two little ones. As a mother of two little boys who loves to dress her kids, it has been a constant struggle to find nicely made and affordable shoes, especially dress shoes. Most of the time, she will settle for sandals or sneakers. One fine day, she had a bright idea to create shoes for her kids that are similar so that they can match. That is how Little One's vision slowly came to life. Little One's symbolic two little waves evoke the true persona of the brand and focus on creating only classic, trend-defying, and versatile designs meant to transcend seasons and encourage the shift from temporary trends to enduring timeless pieces. For more information, visit littleones.com, that's littleWANS.com, or click the link in the description below. Hi. Hi, Diyana.
Hi.
Tina. This is Tina.
Oh my God, Tina, how you doing, Tina? Oh my God, I cannot believe you referenced that first thing. How dare you? Takut I tahu. Bila dengar nama Tina macam alamak.
Tina.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, I tengok the sketch tu macam, okay, I yang Tina ni.
No lah, you are so not Tina. You are absolutely not Tina. You are absolutely not Tina. Okay, I detest that. I refuse to believe it.
Oh my God, but I love
my
it. I
God.
think that pose garnered a lot of attention. It's just amazing. The idea of Tina. It's true.
Well, I mean
What do you
that's the
think?
thing lah. When you enter the journey of motherhood, so to speak, kan, like I mean, you want to try to find, or parenthood for that matter, you want to try to find your unit of friends who are gonna be there for you and whatnot. But then sometimes you meet some people that don't jive, and don't jive too is one thing, but you meet the people who you thought you jive with, and then tengok dia macam alamak buat hal, you know, that sort of
betul.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
then there was Tina was born.
Oh, okay. You know what, Tina can be this character lah in you guys' journey, like a general reference to a person that is affecting someone's life, I think, kan?
Yeah, definitely.
In a way,
for
without
sure. Like,
realizing or not, I think boleh
yeah.
relate lah. I think boleh relate.
Oh, sangat. Everyone's got a Tina in their lives,
Yes.
whether it's a friend, whether it's a relative, whether
Kan? Tapi kan yang paling best is like selalunya orang-orang terdekat yang macam itu.
Yeah, memang
The
pun.
closest
That's how
person.
Yeah, so Tina reference wise, she's a narcissist lah, unfortunately. Like
Okay.
that's a general consensus. But
Yeah.
it was an unfortunate situation when we found out, but you can only have humor in life to make everything seem to be okay.
Wow, Diyana Hashim, thank you for joining me. in
No
this conversation.
problem.
And I
No
love this
problem.
topic that we are going to bring forward. I think you've seen this a lot on social media. It's by Charlotte Freeman. She wrote a book about this was meant to find you, and I think I want to have this discussion with you about the living the life you want. And I hope this inspiring episode, my conversation with you, will discuss how certain messages and opportunities come into our lives at the right moment. And I
Mm-mm.
hope you will share an insight or insights on recognizing and seizing the pivotal moments to create the life you desire, balancing your journey in motherhood, and explore the power of your intuition and the law of attraction. What brings you here today?
What brought me here today
Yeah.
to you? You messaged me and I was like, well, no, honestly, like when I got your message on Instagram, I read through it and I was like so fascinated by the way that He Podcast was, run. It was these were like a lot of the conversations you have had in the past are the kinds of conversations that I would have when I'm out late at night, and this is like the last few people standing talking about deep conversations on life that not a lot of people would actually want to talk about. And it's always like very refreshing for someone to just genuinely say, "Hey, do you want to talk about life and reflecting on it and how we can like achieve things in our lives?" Like that's always really fun, and I'm very grateful that you had actually thought about me, because at the end of the day, point I'm like, wow, I'm so taharu that you think I'm wise
Yes.
enough to share some
Yes.
tips.
And I'm a Taharu also. You say yes because I'm like, okay,
Oh,
she's way famous than I am.
no lah.
Radio
What are you talking
DJ.
about? Oh, please. Please. I'm like
Oh,
D-class celebrity
wow.
if you had to put
No,
me in a
no, no, no.
category.
Okay, when you come to he, everyone is A class.
Yes.
Yeah,
Love
everyone
that.
is
Love
A
that.
class. I love it. And
Roll out the red carpet. Roll out the red carpet, baby. That's how we do
so you are
it.
the A class to me, and then think I'm sure you're gonna bring this conversation into a very deep consciousness. Like I want to ask this question to you. Like, what is
Okay.
your significant moment in life that you realize, you know what, this message meant to be something for me, an opportunity was meant for you, and how did you recognize that, and what steps did you take to seize it?
Oh, that is a heavy loaded question. Like the opportunity that was meant for me. I think in my entire lifetime, I have been very, very lucky. I've been very, very privileged. I'm just gonna say it right off the bat, that a lot of the things that I like to do, I was not necessarily the best at it, but a lot of things sort of like, came kind of naturally to me, like communication, or like, I'm good with my hands. I love art. I love making things. And so after I was like done with school, wanting to start work and stuff like that, it was just like go with the flow, ambit whatever jobs that you can get that's available for you. But then like, so I worked in customer service after SPM, and I generally like that sort of thing. And then I worked in a call center, and then I worked as a community manager. I worked as a baker. I had a business. But in 2014, was it? Yeah, in 2014, something really big happened amongst my group of friends lah. We lost a very good friend of ours. When that had happened, there was a massive shift in my perspective anyway, where we started to realize that life is too short. You know that feeling where you've never lost a friend before or a family member, but this is the first person that you lose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when that happened, I was like, oh my gosh, like life is too short. And a lot of like within the group, I felt as though people started to reflect on what it is that they're doing in their lives and whatnot. And it hit me as well. Perhaps there's something more to it than just floating around in this universe, going with the flow kind of situation. And it made me realize and look into myself deeper to actually notice that I had never really worked that hard in my life to get what I want, because I never really knew or understood what I wanted.
Mm.
So during that period of time, I sat down and I started reflecting a lot more. And I think there was also a pattern, which makes sense now because I'm ADHD and like, dopamine drop and all that nonsense.
Mm-mm.
But it made sense where there was always like an influx of like being semangat with the job or the whatever work projects that I was doing, but then there always came a point where there would be a drop and I would feel like I genuinely don't want to do it anymore, and I would find it very difficult to pick it back up again. And to me at that point of time, I thought it was because it was something that I actually did not really want to do. So I started discovering what I wanted to do with my life. So
Yeah.
I listed it out at the time. I came up with I wanted to be a radio DJ. I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be wait for it, seamstress. I wanted to be a carpenter, and I wanted to be a tour guide. Like, so those were the things, like I started to add these like little bucket wish lists in my life.
Yeah.
And it was nice because having that meant that I was looking into what are the common traits of these things that I actually really want to do, that I can do now, that I can start practicing so I can achieve this bucket list, so to speak.
Yeah.
And true enough, when that happened, I suddenly I started like really going like, oh my gosh, these are the things that not only can I go in with because I'm not like naturally good at it. I can't sew, I can't make furniture or anything like that. But adalah basic sebab kita orang ada apa tu kelas ERT dekat kelas, kemahiran hidup, pernah lah buat benda macam ni, or like, I've entertained some guests. I've taken them like to like Batu Caves and stuff like that, which I enjoy. And then I was actually, funnily enough, teaching at that point of time as well. And the main thing that was on the list was being a radio DJ. So like we were talking about opportunities that were meant for me. As soon as we found out, like, as soon as I learned all of these things that I actually really wanted, somehow or rather, there were 2 radio stations that came up with an audition. And then from that point, I was like, oh my God, this is a sign. Like, this is an opportunity for me right now. And I never realized it because, how often do people actually say, I want to be a radio DJ, a radio announcer, and actually get the opportunity to go in and audition? Like what like how is it so funny that was the case? So like I pun macam pelik juga, and I think when it comes to how I seized the moment, I really made it a point to try to understand the craft as much as I could. I befriended with, I don't know if you remember Dilly from Mix FM.
Yes.
Last time, like a long time ago, she used to be on the morning show.
JD
so
and Dilly.
Yes, JD and Dilly, yeah, they're so awesome. Like, so I actually contacted Dilly, like I emailed her funnily enough, before the audition started coming up, and then I was just asking her questions. I wanted to pick her brain because she was talking about, there was like an interview or like a conversation she had one morning with JD, and I was like, I'm so inspired by it. Can you share more about this and that? And this was bearing in mind quite a long time ago juga lah. And the next thing you know, it was like when the audition came for these 2 radio stations, not the same one, it wasn't Mix FM at the time, but I got to speak to Dilly and I was like, hey, so I'm going to do this and this, like, what are some of your tips? So what are some of your tricks that you can, like, any advice that you can give me? You'd be very, very surprised with how kind people can be with sharing some kind of knowledge. And I think from that, that was how one of the moments lah that, getting to know what I wanted in the first place, and then suddenly realizing that there are so many opportunities to do the things that you want to do, and then reaching out to people, asking them, how do I get there? Because sometimes we don't have all of the knowledge, and we're not meant to have all of the knowledge anyway. So reaching out to people, asking for advice like that, that's just like the best way to do it. And then after that, redha lah, whether you get it or not, it's a different story. But alhamdulillah, like I auditioned for both, and I got one of them, and I was on radio since that point, 2014. I took a quick break, but then I just left radio last year. Yeah. It was in 2023 that I stopped. Yeah.
And I saw I think you did say goodbye to being a DJ on your Instagram post. How long was it for the same radio station throughout the time?
Yeah. Yes, it was. It was. So like that station was and always has been my love lah. Like, I mean, I grew up listening to that station, and we really got the opportunity to learn to not just be announcers, but also like actual DJ, where you can pick songs and like, curate a playlist where you can get someone to have a fantastic day, and relationship that you build with listeners as well was so gempak because it was so amazing because I've had these scenarios where I would play music and then I would receive like a few tweets at a time and then they would be like, hey, is Diana okay? All her songs are so emo.
They can
And I'm
spot,
like,
kan?
yeah,
They
they
can spot.
can, they
Yeah,
can.
they can spot.
They
Yeah.
can absolutely spot it, and it's so incredible for that. And from that point, it was really about the kind of voice that I wanted to be because I had this responsibility in spreading something and spreading the word, so to speak, lah. What word did I want to spread? And I insisted on making sure that everything and anything that I talked about was a good story, like a good news story, like a feel good thing. I want people to genuinely feel good because life can be crap, but like there's so many amazing things out there that we have to be able to see. So it's like, let's get out of our bubble and listen to something that's far beyond this world that we can fathom or understand, but like obviously we want to make it like something easy to like listen to and laugh like that lah.
Yeah. How does it feel now being off radio?
I honestly like I'm actually very happy with the decision that I made the last time having left because I actually left the station twice. The first time around I left because I was initially supposed to move to the UK after having gotten married. But yeah, that was the initial game plan lah. To be completely honest, that point when I had left, there was something in me that it felt like, okay, this was something that I didn't really feel very confident with my decision at that point of time. And I didn't know it. I didn't realize it. It was only way later when I didn't end up moving to the UK, and when I came back, I was like, I really want to like go back to being on radio. And after two, funnily enough, pun kebetulan my old producer, I bumped into him, and he was like, hey, yeah, like we might be looking for new DJs anyway, so why not give it a try since you've been in the system? You can audition again, no issues. And I was like, yeah, I'd be happy to audition again. And true enough, like when I went there, I met up with the station director at that time, and she was like, yes, we'd be happy to audition you. And I got the job again, and I came back in, and I continued to do the thing that I did, which is give my all as much as I can and do it for the listeners rather for like myself. It's not a shock sendiri thing. It's like a big responsibility. And but then leaving this time around was not a decision that was taken lightly for myself. It really was for me specifically, and something that I knew that had led me to a point where enough is enough. This time of your life is already done. Don't dwell, just leave. Yeah.
There's a time in life when you feel suddenly like macam, okay, this is good. This is enough. I'm okay to start something else, whether there is a future lies ahead or not. You don't know what comes ahead of you. Like, I'm sure Mama's Here podcast came after that journey too.
Yes.
I mean, the idea may have, you may already have it, tapi it only became fruition like only after you left.
Yes,
right?
it's true.
Yeah.
That is very true. It's like you kind of have to let go of something or close one door to open another door. You to be able to prioritize certain things. I mean, when you have ADHD, you've got 1,000 things on your mind, and there's always 1,000 amazing ideas that you have, which is so like in the reality of it, kita macam, yes, I can totally do that. Like it's just a matter of when do I execute, and I think that's when we have to make that decision for ourselves to decide what is the most important thing right now based on the current living situation, whether it is aligned with your values and your principles, etc., etc. Yeah, macam tu lah. Banyak habis. I swear you and I should be meeting up like our session 5 jam kot.
Tak, Diana, kita punya podcast series je, kalau kita dua je, I rasa 10 pun tak cukup.
Lebih kurang. It's like one session. It's no, but you know what it's gonna be like. We're gonna be like macam, okay, we sit down and then we're gonna talk, record je, and then after that it's like for 12 hours, and then kita macam, kita orang dah cakap boleh 12 episodes lah. Cut.
One season done.
One season done.
But it's surprisingly kan, macam like throughout the past, you mentioned JD and Dilly. You mentioned Dilly. Okay, you mentioned Dilly and you mentioned ERT. Benda dua ni berlaku in my life like years ago, not knowing that all of that will actually come back to me today and how this was meant to find me. So in this discussion, kan, I think you know why I put this part of the topic to discuss in season 4 is because when I reflect balik kan, macam I know this journey is different for everyone. Tapi
Mm-mm.
when it comes to like something that happened years ago, whether you like it or not,
Yeah.
it's meant to be for you today. So I
Mm-mm.
guess
Mm-mm.
when you mentioned the word DD, I remember I did marketing and PR kan. I remember JD and DD, I met them at an event, and then the next day, diorang
Mm-mm.
prank I on Mix FM. Cakap nak client list lah, apalah, bergaduh-gaduh lah kat kantor.
Oh my God!
Kadang-kadang
That
rupa-rupanya
is
kena
hilarious.
prank. Okay, itu satu. Lepas
Oh
tu
my
kedua,
God.
with all the trauma, psychologically, with ADHD and depression and suicide,
Mm.
eventually
Mm.
Aisha Sinclair interviewed
Mm.
pula on Mix FM.
Mm.
Tapi masa tu I dah
Mm.
buat podcast saya rasa. Tapi bila now
Mm.
I get to talk to a radio DJ or someone who
Yeah.
had the DJ experience. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
ERT juga was something that I think I broke the barrier. I was the only guy who took ERT in school in Malaysia at the
Oh
time.
my
The next year,
God.
because I berani masuk kelas perempuan, ekonomi
Uh-uh.
rumah tangga to be specific, ERT
Yes.
stands for economy rumah
Yeah.
tangga.
Yes.
Another
Yeah.
girl, the next year, berani masuk
Uh-uh.
KMT.
Ah.
Kemahiran something. KMT.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dia
Yeah. Yeah.
masuk laki
Yeah.
because dia suka tukang lagi. And the
Ah.
next
Ah.
year,
Ah. Ah. Ah.
dah balance ada, a bit of women there and girls into this
Yeah.
field yang, socially, ni kena kerja perempuan. Ini kerja lelaki.
Mm-mm.
You know why I mentioned
Yeah.
ERT in this journey? It's
Mm-mm.
because when you mention ERT, suddenly I macam, I sekarang dalam ekonomi rumah tangga. I sekarang dalam situasi ekonomi rumah tangga.
Yeah,
Tapi
memang betul.
memang betul seorang lelaki.
Then you are one of the few people who actually studied something in high
Yes,
school that actually you are
exactly.
practicing now.
But guess
Gitu.
Yes, but guess what? Because bukan setakat ekonomi rumah tangga, you know what? There is economy in there. Because I remember ERT at the time was not just managing your household tau sebagai suri rumah, tapi
Yeah,
you run
yeah.
a business at the same time.
Yeah, betul. Ada accounts sikit kan? Yeah, basic accounts
Yes,
or
ada
something
basic
like that. Yeah.
account, macam mana nak buat kek jual
Mm.
untuk support suami kita.
Faham.
So dalam kes I
Gitu.
sekarang ni, I ada
Yeah.
business sambil jaga
Yeah,
anak, jaga
Yes.
isi rumah.
Yeah.
Gender wise, I'm a male, and it's okay if your
Yes.
relationship is fine. So I guess what was meant for me today happened to me a
Yes.
long time ago.
Yes. Actually, you'd be so surprised with how a significant moment or a not so significant moment, like that's the thing, tau. Like it's not very often that you find people who realize that what has happened to them, like say for example, having this conversation, right? Like they might think that, oh, this is because it's a podcast recording, so this is going to be a significant moment. But imagine if you and I sat down without the podcast and then we were having the conversation, we both might not think that it's a significant moment. It's just two friends catching up, getting to know each other kind of situation. But these sort of things, like these sort of moments, will affect you one way or another, and that's really how like you get into this point of apa yang you put out in the world, in your intentions and everything, it will lead you back to it at the end of the day. So for your ERT situation, it would have been like I am preparing myself not just for this, taking care of like economy rumah tangga situation, but it is also the concept of breaking the barrier in being okay to be the only male, the only thorn amongst the roses in doing all of this. And it's like, I'm comfortable with myself. I know who I am as a person. It doesn't really matter to me what anyone else thinks. And you've broken barriers like that for other people as well. And I think like with your podcast, it continues to do that because you have explicitly said, this is my life right now. I am a stay-at-home dad. I've gone through all of these, mental health struggles before, and I am doing it, and I am okay, and I know that you can do it. It's like every little thing that you do, it's like, I'm so proud of you. Like, it's really, really wonderful. Good for you, honey.
Yeah. And I'm proud
Oh my
of you
gosh.
too. And especially in your journey of
Thanks.
becoming a mother. You shared a
Yeah,
lot
thanks.
about your motherhood journey in your own podcast, Mama's Here. How have you managed to balance your personal aspirations with the demands of motherhood? What strategies have you found the most effective in this journey?
This one, like I'll be completely honest, like again lah, like for everything that has happened in my life, I come from a privilege standpoint. Now, privilege does not necessarily mean money per se. Privilege means like the privilege of time, privilege of health, the privilege of support, the privilege of anything lah, like,
Yeah.
because it's something that I had always been very, very lucky with, especially when it came to my pregnancy. When I found out that I was pregnant, my husband was in London at the time and he was traveling quite a fair bit. So I spent like maybe the first 4 months of my pregnancy on my own with my sister. She lives in like Indonesia. She comes back and forth. My brother come and visit every now and then with his wife. My sister-in-law, my parents were staying with me at that point of time, so I wasn't exactly alone. But biasalah, like sometimes when you have your parents staying with you, you might go nuts. But the thing that was actually very, very wonderful for me was that somehow or other, when I got pregnant in my first trimester, my brain was like a normal human brain, meaning it's like a neurotypical, I would say, it felt like a neurotypical person's brain. Macam tak bising, it was quiet, it was focused, like I didn't have like the fog brain kind of thing. It was almost as if like the fog covered all the chaos.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was like macam reverse effect sikit lah. So somehow I was very, very focused, and because I was very aware of that, and I had at that point been diagnosed maybe about the year before that, I was very mindful. I was very concerned, like, as a mom who is neurodivergent, whether it's on a high spectrum, low spectrum, or whatever, it is going to affect me as a person. And I took that opportunity during the first trimester to do a lot of research. And one of the things that I had learned over time is that, and most of the stuff is talked about by mothers, not so much as dads. Like dads, there are a few articles that you can read out, but even those articles and those stories, they talk about how they look at the mom and what are some of the commonalities that you see. So this was some of the things that I had noticed, the common issues that moms experience over time, whether it's within the fourth trimester or even completely post 1 year, 2 years, 3 years in. So I've been up to like when you're older lah, what are some of the things that tend to see? And one of which is the term losing yourself. It's like literally losing yourself, not knowing who you are, having a massive identity crisis. Like that was the biggest factor in the entire universe. There was the guilt, there was so many things, but ultimately it was so interesting because everything stems from losing yourself. If you are so afraid of losing yourself, you feel so afraid that you have to make a certain decision whether you am I going to be a stay-at-home mom, or am I going to work, or am I going to do both? And if I'm going to do all those threes, I will still have guilt. I will still have fear of missing out. I will still have this. I will still have that. So all those stories really talked about who you are as a person, who are you as a mother. And one of the things that I had discovered from that point was, okay, I took a couple of tips and tricks here and there. So it was like easy little things that it's not like I had to go see a psychiatrist or a therapist for it per se. It was one of those things where, okay, let's take and do things that I know I am able to do now, like literally take the action right now and implement that in my life. So one of which is get dressed in the best way that you could, like macam dress up. Don't look too slicky all the time, because sometimes you might forget to shower and all of that, and then the next thing you know, you macam don't even realize that you tak mandi macam 5 hari, like that, those. And then like little habits, like remember to take time to meet up with your friends, to catch up. It doesn't have to be every week. Give yourself like once a month, or like those little habits actually did help shift the motherhood narrative for me as I was going through my pregnancy. It made me realize where it was funny enough, I wanted to focus more on myself than the actual child that was coming, because I knew for a fact that for every point that in the stories of what moms had expressed, the child in question, you know that you will always do your best for the child. Whether it is enough or not enough to your standard or society's standard, you know that you're always going to do your best for your child. And because of that, what can you give to the child that is best for the child? It's to give the best version of yourself. And it was like really interesting how the only way to actually be able to help a person is if you have helped yourself prior to that. To know, what you need in your life. How can you possibly help other people, or how can you possibly love someone else if you don't even see that within yourself? So there was a lot of like personal growth that happened throughout my pregnancy. When my daughter was born, she is memang like from the get-go. I looked at her and I'm like, okay, I'm very aware that you are a brand new person. Like, you are still navigating life, and I am navigating this life with you, and I am again coming from a place of privilege. Because I knew that I was very aware when there is a hormone shift, when there was a moment where I felt like I was in distress, when there was a moment where my body, there was something that felt wrong, or my mind, there was something that felt wrong, because anxieties happen often enough. But those are the moments where I would reach out to my husband, I would reach out to my sister, my mom, or some of my friends and say like, I'm feeling very anxious right now, and these are some of my fears that I'm experiencing. The thing is, when you admit those things, it's not a reflection on anyone. It's merely expressing your thoughts and your feelings. So when that happened, it was easy enough to navigate the choices that I made in my life on a day-to-day basis. Like, so coming back to that question on balancing, your career and motherhood at the same time, it was actually easy enough for me to say that in order for me to help me so I can help my daughter, not that I don't like being with her, it's just that sometimes I need to get out. Like, and if I need to get out, what do I want to do? I want to do the things that I can do. And I had to basically say, like I said earlier on, like macam, you have 1,000 ideas and there's so many great ideas, but then tengok-tengok, you're like, which ideas do you want to do first? I'm the kind of person that I've realized I don't want to do it all. I want to do it one by one. At a time, one at a time, because that's the only thing that your brain can actually process, especially if you want to be present with your family, be present with your child, and also focus on your career and how to make yourself thrive in this world. So yeah, that's basically it. Did I answer your question? I'm not really sure.
Yes. It does. It does. Like, basically, your strategy is to have a little me time.
Yeah,
Get
and
out.
take things
Yeah.
and take things one step at a time. Like,
Yes.
I was having this conversation with Sophia, funnily enough, and and she was saying like, you can do it all. And I was actually, I won't deny it. You can do it all. We are human beings. We have an incredible capacity and ability to do so many things without us even realizing it. And our minds are our only limitations. But the thing is, it's like, do you know how to navigate your own mind in your own self? Like, a person like Sophia, for example, might have the ability to do it all and do it and flourish and do it so well. But for a person like me, if I were to look at someone like her, for example, and I'll be like, wow, I really want to be like Sophia. I want to do that, exactly just that. But then in the end, like, tengok-tengok budak ADHD tak boleh.
Tak
Sebab
boleh.
like, kita orang punya tak langsung tak boleh. And that's okay. And that's why I'm like, then here's the easy way to deal with it. You list out what are some of the things that you want to do and decide, when am I going to be that? When am I going to put time to do those things? Is it going to be this year? Is it going to be next year? If you're unable to meet those things that you want to do, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a matter of, getting started one fine day lah.
Yeah,
At least you tried, kan? That's
one
the whole
step
point.
at a time, I guess. Kan?
Yeah, exactly.
You do it all, tapi not at the same time. You do
Yes.
it when you can.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's why I have no guilt right now when it comes to like them saying like, oh, as a mom, you wanna, especially as a working mom, you wanna bounce back in your career and you wanna have a hot bod instead, and I'm as well. And then I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna try to do both. Don't expect me to go to the gym all the time. I'm like, I will work out when I can.
Yeah. And then just enjoy your life every day without that
exactly.
guilt-free.
Yes.
While enjoying life, because kadang-kadang kan, when you have all these influences going around you and say you have to do this, you have to be like this, you tak boleh nak enjoy tau. Lepas tu you stress, lepas tu you anxiety, lepas tu you lama-lama jadi depressed because oh my God, I'm not achieving my goals, I'm not successful. I mean, even the small little success kan we have every day, kita kadang-kadang we're not missing out tau sebenarnya, tapi kita kadang-kadang macam to look at the bigger picture, like, okay, this is the goal we want to achieve, but we're not there. But we all have all these little things around us to look at and be, I'm okay. walau someone
Yep.
like Sophia can do everything all at once and still be
Yeah.
organized and still feel
Yeah.
fabulous and dance in front of
Yeah.
the camera, kita macam, ha, rambut tak siap. Lepas
Yeah. Betul.
otak ada
Betul. But it's
1000 benda nak fikir, nak buat.
yes.
Tapi boleh buat
Yes.
satu
And
je.
yes, that's okay too.
That's
That we
okay.
have to. Yes, exactly. It's like you gotta own it. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
own the fact that like if my
Hmm.
mind is going to be focusing on one thing at a time,
Hmm.
you gotta freaking own it. And if someone is, but you'd be very surprised with
Hmm.
how a lot of people actually don't live life like that. I mean,
Oh.
ada lah yang macam nak one step at a time, tapi tak banyak orang, especially when it comes to parents. About like for us, it's like a ticking bomb. Bukan tak lah ticking bomb lah, but it's
Yeah.
like you can see time moving. Like
Yes.
as a parent, I don't know about you, but like as soon as your child is born, you realize that you can see the amount of time that is in front of you, and you realize like, oh my gosh, I have to really, really allocate as much as I could during a certain period of time, because kalau tak, nanti I'm gonna miss out, or I'm gonna miss out, whether it's on my child, my career, my body, my this, my that. So you tend to try to fit in as much as you can, because otherwise you think you'll lose out on so
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
But it's really about prioritizing how you want to use that time for you, for the things that you need to do, and for your child.
Yes.
So yeah, itulah.
And at this point, do you ada rasa tak? Okay, how old is she now?
She's turning 2 soon.
So, okay. Ada tak when she was a year old, today you rasa macam, oh, I miss 1-year-old her, tapi I feel like I've done completely enough, so I'm satisfied. Kalau ada, I rasa you okay. That means you spend more time. Macam Ryan kan, macam I miss the baby him. I really do. Tapi at the same time, I rasa puas juga. I cium dia. Buat ni, I buat tu. I rasa puas. Walaupun sekarang tak bagi cium dah. Tak bagi
Yeah.
peluk. Tak
Oh
bagi.
my God, dah masuk that age, ya Allah,
Dah.
kesiannya you.
Kena tolak, kena tendang, kena
Oh my
pukul.
God. Tak nak,
Tak nak.
takut.
Sebab tu I cakap, sebab tu I tanya soalan tadi tu. Ada tak rasa, alamak, I rindu dia. Walaupun dia 2 tahun, you rasa dia baby. Tapi sebenarnya, before you kiss them good night, you know what I think now? You know what? That is the last time I'm going to see him.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
that phase, you know?
Yes,
Because the
yes,
next
yeah.
morning when they wake up, they're a different person.
Yes, yes. Oh my God,
It's
yes.
very deep.
It's
Tapi it's real. It's
no,
real.
but it's so true. It's so true, and it was just like so interesting that you were saying that. You know how like your phone, like whether it's Google Photo or whatever, they have a tendency of like saying, "Here's a memory from like 1 month ago or 6 months ago or whatever," right? So like it pops up every now and then where I see my daughter's photo and I'm like, "Ya Allah, lain ni budak ni." Like she looks so different compared to how she is today, and.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's like we have one of the things that we wanted to do when it came to parenting was like we really wanted to be very aware of her train of thought and how it works, like what she, at least, because it's like you want to get to know a new person, right? And
Yeah.
this is the kind of person who's developing her own skills and understanding herself and whatnot. So we want to try to follow as much as possible. And the sense of development, like my daughter, dia macam, I rasa dia macam thinker, ponderer, dia macam ala-ala nak kata perfectionist pun ada juga. Like
Yeah,
macam,
yeah.
and so there were all these little things that you start to see like, oh my gosh, like you're able to like say this already. Like, in about 2 months ago, you could say half of that word. Now you can say it clearly, or like this and that. And I want to say rindu is rindu only because like compared to when she was 6 months old, she wasn't like running around.
Yeah.
My daughter is like a 7,000 steps baby. Okay, she literally would have to take 7,000 steps a day for her to be like okay before the end of the night. She's active, but like that is the only kind of rindu. But I think you like you kata lah, puas is puas, but I think it's not so much as is puas. It's like you are in awe of every moment, like of being a parent, like
Yeah.
because selalunya kalau macam kalau kita tengok anak kita, memang muka busuk, memang kadang-kadang dia orang gila sikit,
Yeah.
lepas tu crack, this
Yeah.
and that.
Betul.
Tapi you tengok them, you look at them in awe. You're like, anak aku gila. Macam I love you.
Tapi you perasan kan karakter tu actually dia orang punya foundation of characters. Like
Yes.
they can still change because of
Yeah.
factors of influence in school and who are they
Yeah.
friends with. Tapi
Yeah.
kan you perasan kanak-kanak yang you nampak sekarang tu kan macam kita, macam I
Mm.
tak rasa I tak pernah berubah. I ialah
Mm.
Refi masa I tengok my dad tangkap video I kecil-kecil dulu. Sama je perangai gila,
Mm. Mm.
suka kacau.
Nah, yeah.
I
That's
perasan
then
tu.
that's the foundation lah.
Kan?
Like
Kan?
that's what you the
Ha.
beautiful foundations that you want to build. Whether they're like, kalau
Ha.
nakal, being nakal is never a bad thing at the end
Ya,
of the day.
betul.
It's like
Ya.
it's just figuring out how to manage it, how to like, and to be fair,
Ya.
just so you know, budak ADHD kan,
Ha.
budak ADHD selalu kena cop nakal.
Memang.
Tapi padahal sebenarnya dia tak ada
Tak.
ADHD tu. It's like,
Betul.
yeah, so it's like,
Betul.
yeah, so it's kind of like, but those are beautiful traits to have and to see that if you are able to bring that forward into your life, because it goes to show, despite the environment and the experiences, the traumas, etc., that a person has experienced. Can you imagine having the ability to live life so not lightly, but like as in with humor, with grace, with gratitude, to the extent where you can bring that childlikeness of yourself into your adult life? That is like memang hebat kot, I
Kan?
rasa.
Kan?
And yeah. And that's the only thing that one could wish for their kids lah juga.
Yeah, yeah. And as a mother, into your personal and professional life, do
Yeah.
you use your intuition a lot in your decision making? Like how it has guided you into this journey, and do you trust your gut and then turn it into a positive outcome, or sometimes your gut make it like, oh my God, I was wrong. My gut was totally wrong. Or most of the time, your gut tells you the right thing.
Do you know it's really interesting though? Like like this question about trusting your gut and stuff. I haven't relied on my gut feeling in a very long time. I used to rely on my gut feeling quite a lot when I was much younger. More often than not, I was correct, but again, I think it wasn't put into consideration in a lot of things, because I think, as I mentioned earlier on, my life macam banyak go with the flow. Like, so there weren't a lot of moments where I had to use my gut feeling. But I think over time, what I started to realize actually was it wasn't so much as using my intuition or my gut to determine what is the next best decision making. And this may sound a bit preachy, but I hands down am gonna say this. It was not so much as following intuition, but it was to embrace submission. So embracing submission. So like basically when I say embracing submission, it's not what I mean by being submissive, okay? Kau jangan nak gelak.
Ada macam fikir lain kan?
Kau jangan This serious conversation, okay? Like you getting
S&M.
get
I like that. Embrace it. Okay. I know what you mean. Yeah.
No, I mean you can if you want to. But actually, so interesting that you brought that up, because I think that is a perfect way to look at it juga. Because when you are submissive, right, you have to, when putting yourself in the submissive position, you have to trust. You have to put a lot of trust into that person that you're with,
Yes,
or
yes.
if you are,
Betul.
and that person has to create a very safe place for you, and you have to be you have to be totally open with the
Wow.
idea.
Yeah.
So imagine embracing submission, but whether it's in the form of your maker, whether it is God, whether you call it the universe, whether you call it life, whether you call it the force or Buddha or whatever, I think at the end of the day, when you embrace submission, you are totally opening your life to a much bigger thing. There are so many things that are far beyond your control that you go where it will take you over time. That's the whole concept of what my life has gone. It was like, if this is meant to happen, this will absolutely happen. Now, when do you decide whether it's a big decision making thing, like or like when you meet a crossroad. Think about it with I invite you to, paint a picture in your head that you're walking down a path where it's like the forest, and it's like, just like beautiful greenery and everything. And then the next thing you know, you come to a stop where there's a branch of like three paths that you can take. One is heading towards still continuing on into the forest, another one goes towards a river, and another one goes to the beach. So during this point of time, obviously this is where the moment usually comes that you have to make those decisions where you're like, am I going to miss out on this? Am I going to miss out on that? Is this the wise idea? Is this the right move for me? La-di-da-di-da-di-da. But the thing is, when you get to that point of like submission in life, or, for my personal part, it was just a lot of prayer, banyak istiqarah, banyak tahajud was done. But with that submission and trust, it is basically whatever decision that you make from here on out, whether it was good for you or bad for you, it is meant to happen for you. And this is what I learned. Like at the end of the day, contohnya lah, you decided, I'm going to go through the beach route. I'm going to head towards the beach. And then the next thing you know, you realize, alamak, it took me 10 steps backwards. Okay? It took me 10 steps backwards. I'm not progressing far than what I want to. But that is the point where when you get to that point of being 10 steps backwards, you take a moment to reflect. And you take a moment to see where you are with the knowledge that 10 steps backwards that you were at before. So you don't look like, oh my God, my destination is further away from me now. No, you don't do that. You take a moment to say, this is where I am supposed to be. And so what are some of the things that I've already learned when I was this point in my life, 10 steps backwards? Okay, so because of that, with the knowledge that I know, with the fact that if I took the path, this one path before, that I know that this is not the right direction to go, then this gives me the opportunity to bring me 15 steps forward to where I need to go. So it's like, so at the end of the day, you're not making a loss. And I think this is where, how whenever you watch all these like motivational videos, they're like, oh, like people talk about successes, but they don't talk about failures. You got to fail 1,000 times before you succeed, like 1 time, 2 times, or whatever kind. So I think this is like kind of what they mean by it. It's like, but that's the whole point. It's not even looking at it as a failure. It's looking at it as, this is a catapult. This is a moment for me to, it's a detour, like I'm rerouting. I've been given a second chance to relive and rethink of all of the things that I have done to move forward in life. So based on like, in terms of like intuition, your gut feeling lah. So talking about the decision to leave my radio job, basically when I came to that decision, it was not just because I wanted to, spend a lot of time with my daughter kind of situation. It was also to do with part of the organization in itself. There were some like things where I could not ignore. I've noticed, and that feeling where like someone tells you something and then the glass shatters and you cannot unsee it ever again.
Yeah, I know.
So it was so it's basically that. And I think for the longest time I held on because I was like, oh, I found out about it before I got pregnant. Like the glass was shattered before I got pregnant. And then after the glass was shattered, I got pregnant and I was like, alamak, like I can't leave this job lah. Kalau if I leave this job, then macam no one's gonna hire me when I'm pregnant. I need to make money, blah 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 blah.
Betul.
And then after that, like, so there was that pressure. And then after that, my daughter was born. And then after that, I was like, this is the only job where it's flexible enough, where they let me, they don't need me for hours on end. I only need to be there like maybe 5 hours a day maximum in the daytime, so we can have someone to take care of her, blah blah blah. So like all of these things were just me trying to stall making a choice at the crossroad. So more often than not, it's really interesting. People don't necessarily choose the crossroads, like the which path of the crossroads that they want to take. They usually just stay there and linger there and stew there and like just don't know what there. And I think at one point I really felt like something wasn't sitting right, and that was when again you want to submit to life, submit to God. I prayed, I did tahajjud a few nights, and I asked for a sign, and I got the sign the next day, and it was the kind of sign where you're like, oh my God, like this is this is undeniable. Like this is, you want to talk about a sign? This is the sign. Like
Yeah.
there's no question about it lah. Like it's as clear as day.
Mm-mm.
And then after that, that night I did that day I did a istikhara. I prayed istikhara, and then after that it was easy enough. The question for istikhara was, when should I leave? Like, how much time? Do I give myself a year? Do I give myself to the end of the year? Because at that point it was June, if I'm not mistaken, and I was gonna go on a trip to London to visit my mother-in-law. I did my istikhara, and then it was like, it's now. This is the time. I was like, okay, fine. Then I went there. I gave my 1 month's notice, and I said, like, I really do appreciate the opportunities that was given to me, for sure, without a doubt. Like, I love the station, and it was a hard decision to make in when it comes to like my desires of being a radio announcer. But in terms of what was right for me, like I knew that was right for me. Had I stayed on any longer, I would have resented it. I wouldn't have given it my best, and I knew that it was already time lah. So that's that lah. Yeah.
Perhaps it was the best decision you ever made, because I think
Yeah.
what lies ahead of you is more than who you were and
Yeah.
what you are today, I think.
I hope so. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and then you do MC as well. Like,
Yeah.
how does that MC? Let's start. I think I just want to dive a bit onto your professional career here as an MC. How long have you done MC? What does it take to get you to MC?
Oh, well, emceeing, I started hand in hand more or less when I started radio. So it's like back in 2014, 2015 macam tu. So I've been doing it since then. How do I get into it, or like how do I prepare for it? Like I got into it because I was just like, hey, do you guys need someone to talk at an event? And they were just like, yeah, sure, why not? And so I started to do that. And again like I said, like I don't know what it is, but like it's just alhamdulillah, like the rizki in my life I've been so blessed, because I don't put myself out there very often as an MC. It took me a really long time to actually, now I post stuff like I'm an MC, hire me kind of situation. But it took me a really long time to get to that point. And that was something that was very lucky for me, that, I had enjoyed working with a few organizations, a few event companies. Alhamdulillah, they call me again to like, do more and more and more. And so that's where more experiences are gained. But in terms of like preparing it for itself, you gotta have that hype and intention. It's exhausting lah. It can get very exhausting, especially when it comes to doing events for clients that are not aligned with your values and your principles. So I think like I try to be as mindful as I can when it comes to accepting the clients that I have. A lot of the times it's the same situation lah. Like what I put out on radio, I want to try to put it out in my emceeing gig. So yeah, that's basically it. Yeah.
Do you believe that whatever you have, like you dreamed of in the past, like it has played a role in this journey? Does it attract? Yeah. How does it attract?
Yeah.
Like, okay, I want to be a DJ. You dapat, you call it daily, then you got here, become a mother, and then they actually attract tau, without you realizing or not.
Actually, yes. I think it's how you speak to yourself, how you speak in general. Like the words that we use, are they a positive connotation, or is it a negative connotation? Are they positive words, or are they not? Are they negative words? So there's, for example, I'll give you an example. If you say, okay, everyone, remember to do this, that's a positive way of saying it. And then there's the negative way of saying it, that is, don't forget to do this. So the word don't is a negative word. It's considered as a negative word lah kononnya.
Betul.
When I was growing up, I had a conversation with one of my teachers, my old school teacher. She was saying that, there's a negative way of speaking, there's a positive way of speaking. Always try to speak in a positive way, because that usually encourages people around you to listen. And I think it works for yourself juga. Then I came across this video bab zaman dulu bila Facebook started coming out with all these crazy videos and whatever, the beginning of it lah back then. And then there was that guy who talked to his plants in a negative way, and there's he talked to another plant in a positive way, and then another one that he didn't talk to at all. Now I don't know if that study is actually for realsies or not, but essentially it makes perfect sense. There are 3 plants. The plant that was talked to, that was like talked to positively, like macam you're a beautiful plant and whatever, it thrives. It becomes like super cantik, it grows and like it fruited, ada flowers, this and that. Tapi the one yang that was talked negatively, dia grow sikit tapi dia macam buruk gila. Air dia warna like coklat lah, whatever. And then dia macam lah ada kulat-kulat lah, ni lah tu lah. And then the other one that was completely left alone and neglected, mati terus lah. So it was very interesting that, like, you know, looking at it like that, how you talk about certain things. And it also shows with, say, what you want. Let's say, for example, like, Rafi, you tell me, like, what goal do you want? Like, what do you have, like a dream? One thing, like, just one thing. If you could do something,
I want to be Oprah Winfrey.
Okay, all right. So you want to be Oprah Winfrey. All right. So you can. I'm down for that, babe. You see,
Oprah Winfrey, influential.
Yes.
Highly successful, tapi okay, itu je lah tu, yang lain I tak nak tengok.
Okay. Influential, highly successful. So that is under the category of you know, Oprah Winfrey. Okay, so now this is a moment where I'm not even sure if this is even a real way of method to do this. Okay, but there's a sense of embodiment to it, lah, so to speak, because it actually does attract the people that you want to have in your life during this point of time. So you nak cakap, I want to be Oprah Winfrey. You want to be around people, like, you know, you say being Oprah Winfrey means being someone who's influential and highly successful, but it's like, how do you apply that wanting to be that person in a positive manner? So you can say Oprah Winfrey is an influential, highly successful person, and by doing so, I will and I am going to embody this very empathetic, an empath who will really listen and will take out the fantastic stories of people where they will be heard and other people will hear them. See, now that's something that is very positive. But then, in a negative perspective, on the other hand, but Oprah Winfrey had a show. I tak ada show. Macam mana? I tak ada. You know, so you know, or like, but Oprah Winfrey dia punya skills macam lagi hebat dari I punya macam I macam mediocre je. So like, so that's so but even when you get to that point, like, say for example, you have those negative outlooks, those things can be fixed easily. So you put yourself in a position where you are always going to be a student, you're always going to be a learner, and so being being in a negative sense lah. I'm just gonna say this straight out. When you're negative, like if a person is negative, like in a general outlook of life, one of the things that is always the factor of like keeping them from getting out of there is fear and ego. There's fear and ego involved, and I'm a firm believer. My life, Yoda said it right. Fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering. That is my motto in life. I love it. When you fear so much in these things, fear will take you to a place where it will keep you from achieving what you want. That when you look to others who have achieved those things, you look to them and say, you have privilege and I don't. And that is a very ego-esque thing to say, because it's not like the knowledge cannot come to you. Have you asked? Have you gotten out to someone and spoken about it? Have you actually done your research to decide this, that? The blame game is so strong when it comes to these people, to people who have, say, want to be Oprah Winfrey, but always say, but I'm not as hebat as her, or I don't have contacts like this person to have interview bab macam ni bubab. So when you have that, and then you realize, let's say for example, someone's listening right now, and they realize, alamak, I'm that person. I wanted to be Oprah Winfrey, but I'm the person who has said before that this person is better, or this person has better contact. Then you can say to yourself, all right, how do I change this? Okay, let's first and foremost have no fear, because if it was meant to happen for you, it will happen for you. Who knows? You don't have to be the next Oprah Winfrey. You are going to be the only Refi.
Yes.
And another person will want to be you. You know, like that sort of thing. It's like you don't have to be that. You can be more than what you desire in this world. And I think like kalau you nak macam change that mindset shift, like letting go of fear, letting go of ego, by saying, okay, you know what? Am I afraid of succeeding in life? Is that what it is right now? Am I afraid of rejection? Am I afraid afraid of failure? What am I actually afraid of? You have to address those things. And once you've addressed those things, you just say, okay, you know what? I'm a humble servant of this world, of this universe, of my God or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but I will make it a point to be a learned creature. This is where I will reduce my ego, I will submit to life, and I will learn. So I
Mm-hmm.
want to be Oprah Winfrey, or I want to be the next referee. So how do I be referee then? I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
call him up. I'm going to say, hey, I know this is a long shot, but I actually really want to learn from you. I have admired your work and la-di-da-di-da.
Yeah.
How do I get to this point of where you are? And so when you put yourself out there, you'd be very, very surprised with how much people will respond to you and actually be part of your journey. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you're not as alone as you think. The universe is not conspiring against you. It's actually
Yes.
working towards you more than you
Yeah.
realize. Because you think,
Oh,
it's like
wow.
if you are repelling, like say if you are attracting, if you're manifesting, like you in your
Yeah.
head, it's all like bad things are gonna happen, bad things are gonna happen. You're not repelling good things now. You're
Mm.
attracting bad things.
Mm-hmm.
Just like how if you're manifesting good things, you are attracting good things. It's
Yes.
look at it this way. The term is attraction, the law of attraction, lah, basically. So it's
Yeah.
like what
Yeah.
your mind is, it's basically doing that.
Yes, and I think you
Yeah.
were beautifully put. I think that how you just put it out there is just like gave me goosebumps. I think you are what you tell yourself, and I think you also have to make that first move, take that first step to get
Yeah.
there, and basically that's just it, and the rest will follow.
Yeah,
Right?
like it's a very interesting thing, Young, when it comes to the whole feeling negative, like the feeling of fear that grows your ego, because they
Mm-mm.
go quite hand in hand.
Yeah.
Pernah ada this one situation where someone asked me about like wanting to produce a show, for
Mm.
example, like it was
Yeah.
something like that lah,
Mm.
and they had asked me to create a demo and a draft script, and the script. And I had created a script that I had put out the questions that the interviewer is supposed to say, but
Mm-hmm.
then the people who respond to the interview is just based on urutan siapa who is supposed to answer next kind of thing. But
Yeah.
I kept the answers empty. And then
Right.
after that, they were like, oh, you didn't finish your work. And I was like, what do you mean I didn't finish my work? And then they said, because you left the answers for the people you're interviewing empty. And then
Huh?
I'm like, but I'm not, itulah, tu yang macam pelik ah. But then
Eh?
I was like, well, I'm not really supposed to have the answers for them. And then he actually said to me, but aren't you afraid that
Hmm.
like, that they are gonna look stupid if they don't answer correctly? Or like,
Huh?
if you put yourself in a position where you were asked a question and
Mm-mm.
you don't know the answer, does that, I mean, like, aren't you afraid that it's gonna make you look stupid? And I was
Mm-mm.
like, that is the most bizarre thing I'd ever heard, because
Yeah.
the thing is, you're not supposed to know every damn thing in life, lah, okay? Like, even if you
Betul.
didn't know the answer, you can literally say, I'm actually really not familiar with that. Like, like, I'm sorry, like, I can't help you right there, like, I don't know
Mm-mm.
the answer to it. And that doesn't make you a stupid person. Like, it doesn't make you unintelligent. It just makes
Mm-mm.
you, like, just, you're a normal human being. What kind of, like, how much knowledge do you genuinely need to have in order for society to think that you're brilliant, like you don't
Yeah.
have the answers for everything. Yeah, itulah,
What
it's quite
what happened
kelakar.
after that? Like when you didn't give
Well,
the answers to that
I
question?
think I think when that happened, I kind of like I got turned off because my ego was bruised, and I'm not gonna lie about that lah. Like I felt like, you know what, this is gonna take way too much time in my hands to want to argue,
Mm-mm.
counter argue this sort of thing. So I'm like, okay lah, never mind. It's just like one of those things that will never happen, and
Yeah.
it's okay. But that's my decision that I made then, which I don't regret that either. Only
Mm-mm.
because I knew it would have been. It's like pick your battles, lah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you want to
Yeah.
fight for what?
Yeah. Now you
Yeah.
highlighted self-confidence in this
Mm-mm.
story.
Yeah.
Now you want to mention about like the story behind your own self-confidence in this journey, especially your
Mm-hmm.
journey in pregnancy into motherhood. And what
Mm-hmm.
theory or thought have you learned that has boosted your self-confidence? I'm sure after pregnancy, after a lot of decision making that sometimes please you and sometimes they are not, it has,
Mm-mm.
give you low self-esteem. Your confidence
Mm.
changed from you who you were before you were a mother, and then now a mother, and then now you're questioning yourself again, like, aku ni come from a confident person. I berani cakap on
Mm-mm.
stage ke, kan? Tiba-tiba when this experience come fall into the sky, like, okay, I'm now questioning myself again. How far would you let yourself go in the journey of self-confidence? How this experience has changed you in this as a person?
I have not always been that confident. I think growing up, my own this is my perception. I spoke to my parents about it. They never intended to do anything to damage me, obviously.
Yeah.
But it was more towards like, I think for me, like I grew up thinking that I'm more like a wallflower. Like I was more I spent more time listening, and I wasn't always the one who was out front out there. And I think that over the years, it started to come out a little bit more only because, again, like I said, like, the sense of law of attraction, self-manifestation, but keeping yourself as humble as possible could get you some places of like, some sense of confidence. And I think it was because there was so much trust in life that made me feel a little bit more confident in where it would have taken me. So failure was never a fear because it was, or at least that's what I thought, for a lot of things in my life. Failure was not necessarily the feeling of being like, I wasn't necessarily afraid of that per se at most times.
Yeah.
Self-confidence comes from really knowing who you are as a person. And one of the things, funny enough, I was watching How I Met Your Mother. How I Met Your Mother had this one episode where they were on the perception of the mother. And they, like at the end, the last season or something, they introduced the mother, and she was like, saw this guy. Basically, they were catching up, and he asked her like, so what are you doing with your life now? And then she's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not sure, because sometimes we get to that point in life where when we lose confidence, when we are uncertain about a lot of things, you don't really know which direction you're going to go. But one of the things that he said, I can't quote this because I don't have the actual quote on me, but it goes something like this, lah.
Yeah.
Basically, he asked her like, so what do you want to do? Like, what is it that if you could do anything at all, nothing is stopping you. What is it that you want to do? And then she said something like, I want to end world hunger or something.
Yeah.
And then he says, then let everything you do now be of service to that. So when he said, let everything you do now be a service to that, it made me start to wonder, actually, why do we do what we want to do? What is it about ourselves that makes us want to achieve the things that we want to achieve? For example, you want to be an Oprah Winfrey. Why do you want to be Oprah Winfrey? And in my dream goals of like these things that I have, being a radio DJ, a teacher, a seamstress, a carpenter, a tour guide, why did I want to be all of those things? What was it about that made me compelled to want to do these things? And it wasn't so much as what you do per se, but it's the kind of person that you are. And by doing so, it's deciding, or like realizing or discovering who you are as a person.
Yeah.
So I don't know kalau you notice, babe, kalau you introduce yourself to someone, what is the first few things that you say?
I would tell
Like
them
you
my
introduce
name.
hi,
Yeah.
you macam like, hi,
I'm Rafi. I am. Tak tahu nak cakap apa. I'm Rafi je lah dah. I wouldn't say anything else to just
Okay.
introduce other than
Yes.
my work. If it's work related, tapi kalau random
Yeah.
people, I would just tell them my name.
So basically, that's perfect. Like, so you start with the basis of your name, which is something that you always do when you introduce yourself.
And I'm proud
But
of my
you don't
name.
know.
I really
Yes, absolutely. Must be proud. You must
Yeah,
be proud of your
yeah,
name.
yeah.
So that in itself, imagine that to be your first layer. Your first layer. Like, imagine pieces of paper. The layer is a piece of paper, yeah?
Yeah.
So now you've laid down the piece of paper, you are referee, and then after that you are normally in a work setting, in a public setting, you would put potentially your job description.
Yeah.
So that is one layer on top of that. If you were to continue to explain further, like, introduce yourself, the next thing you do, you'll say macam tiba-tiba you dapat the standard template of like biodata book. What's your favorite? Well, my favorite food is nasi lemak. My hobby is this. I like to watch this. I like to listen to this and this and this and this. Imagine, all of those layers they're not actually what defines you. So those things that you do are the things that, like, you just love to do, but then your definition of who you are, your purpose
Yeah.
in life
Yeah.
is like a different thing altogether. Like, say for example, you want to be Oprah Winfrey, you want to be which means being influential and highly successful. But why do you want to come to that point? Is it because you want to help people? You want to feel a sense of achievement of the impossible? Or, like, there's so many ways of
Yeah.
defining that.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I had experienced over time was defining who I was as a person, and that luckily came before my pregnancy, when I had said to myself, if I were to introduce myself in the weirdest way possible, I would say, hi, I'm Diyana. I am a human. I am a human who aims to help people within my capacity and to inspire others to see the good in themselves. So that, to me, is my genuine general purpose in life.
Yeah.
So everything I do from here on out is in service to that. So whatever
Faham.
path I take from that point on, contohnya I jadi podcast person, insyaAllah I will be able to do that, to be able to help people within my capacity and also to inspire people to see the good in themselves. And if I were to do that in the form of, like, contohnya, kalau I jadi cikgu, I boleh buat benda macam tu. Kalau I nak buat benda ni as a tour guide, I can do that as a tour guide. Like, you find a way to interconnect it with each other, for example. But if you happen to come to a point where you want to do something like, say for example, I nak jadi apa? I nak kerja dekat Wall Street.
Yes.
Contohnya, I want to work in Wall
In
Street.
finance.
I want to work in stocks and finance and stuff like that. So then you start to
Trust
look at it
fund.
as,
In
trust
finance.
funds and all
In
that.
finance.
And then so you start to look at, like, okay, so is this within your capacity of who you are as a person, in your foundation as a person? Like that, for example, that in that particular sense, it's like, does that suit your foundation of who you are? Will you be able to help people within your capacity? And will you be able to inspire people to see the good in themselves? Maybe not necessarily. And so in that sense, it's like, okay lah, jobs like that might not be my priority right now,
Yeah.
until I find a way to fix it together.
Yeah.
So anyways, back to the whole confidence thing, right? So when I learned who I was in that sense, and it changes from time to time, you always have to check in with yourself to see, if this is the kind of person that you are still after a year, 2 years, because life and experiences will change you and constantly mold you. You are an evolving creature at the end of the day. Like, look at it this way, lah. So earlier on, I talked about the layers of paper. And let's say I introduce myself and I say, I'm Diyana, I'm a human who aims to help people within my capacity, and I want to inspire people to see the good in themselves. That in itself is my first layer of paper. That is my piece of paper that I will change from time to time if I need to, depending on my values and my principles.
Yeah.
And then I will add in, I'm also a host for a podcast. I also love this music, that music. So all these layers on top of you, right? Because you have such a strong foundation and understanding of who you are, those layers do not define you. Now, the thing is, when it comes to becoming a parent, this is my theory. You have all of these layers before you even become a parent, where it's filled with your job, the hobbies you have, the people you spend time with, etc., etc. But then when you become a mom or a dad, you are bombarded with more layers and more identities and more jobs, more things to do. You become a driver, you become a chef, you become a nanny, you become a this, a that. You have to work on so many things. All these layers will cover the base of what you are.
Yeah.
So with all of these characters, with all of these layers, it's no wonder that moms or dads, more often than not it's moms, they will tend to lose themselves. Because the worst problem is, it's not so much as there's so many things on their plate, because these are things that they cannot take away. Once you become a mom, you can't undo it lah, that sort of thing. But you need to go back to that foundation, that first piece of paper, the first layer, which is who you are. Do you know who you are or not? If you don't know who you are, the struggle is going to be so much harder for you. But then if you knew who you were as a foundation, all of the layers, the activities that you have to do, the new like identities that you have to portray for your child or for other people, society or whatever, it would not affect your foundation of who you are. You will
Mm-mm.
always be that confident person. You will always
Mm-mm.
be that kind of person who knows exactly what they want to do and nothing else matters.
Mm.
So in that sense, like that was my theory that I had realized over time. And
Mm-mm.
I don't know kalau you perasan Mama's Here podcast punya logo, the current logo that is
Mm.
there, dia macam the shape of bubble top and dia ada
Mm-hmm.
banyak layers. Ada layer warna
Yeah.
pink,
Yeah.
purple, blue, and yellow.
Yes.
So imagine those conversations that we have, conversations like this, like you and I are having right now,
Mm-hmm.
are the ways to unveil those layers, to unlayer
Mm.
those parts of you, to discover who you really are as a
Mm-mm.
person.
Mm-mm.
Because at the end of the day, as a mother or as a worker, as anything, as a daughter, you can't really proceed with your life without really truly knowing who you are. But
Mm-mm.
knowing that you as a person will constantly evolve and there's nothing wrong with that, that is also one of the things that the tools that you need to constantly take you
Mm-mm.
until the end of your days, lah. Because I think at the end of the day, the concept of losing yourself, the not having the control over things, is a scary and daunting feeling. But should you have submitted to the fact that there are things in life that are beyond your control, but when it comes to you as a person, your core values, your genuine feeling of what your purpose is in this life, if you are able to meet that or understand that at the very least, inshallah, everything will be okay. There
Yeah.
won't be any problems that you will not be able to face.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I don't know.
And fear to succeed is also a thing, you know. I think you
Yeah.
also want to open up to possibilities. There's plenty of possibilities in life. That very first
Mm-mm.
step you take in building self-confidence, kata, or becoming Rafi or Oprah Winfrey, so to speak. What advice would you give to someone who struggles to see, you know, and sees the opportunity in their life? Like, okay, you know, I had to do it and I'm gonna do it.
I know a person who
I
is
know.
like so like macam like macam do you know okay, have you ever been told you have a lot of potential?
Yes, I have.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay. How do you feel about that? Like, do you love it or do you hate it? Because
I
I hate
I hate it. I
it.
hate it
I
because
hate
I
it.
don't see. I don't see that
Yeah,
potential.
exactly.
Kalau
Yeah,
I
it's like
ada
you.
potential tu, I dah jadi Oprah
Kenapa I
dah.
tak macam tu?
Ah,
Kenapa I tak macam
kan?
tu dah kan?
Betul tak? I dah
Yes.
jadi
So,
maybe, you know, somebody lah. Kalau
yes,
tak, okay,
exactly.
maybe we are somebody at some one point. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But what I meant to say,
Yes.
because we see some higher level of success. Like I think
Yes.
some of them are beyond reach because
Yeah.
I'm a realistic person. I have to see some things realistically. You
Yes.
know what I mean? Okay, there are some
Yep.
limits that I would never go to the moon. It can be a
Mm-hmm.
dream. You said
Yes.
dream big and all that. I believe in that. But
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, when you set a certain standard and you know your own limit, that's how far you're gonna go, and that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yes.
But I hate it because I don't see myself that far. I
Yes,
tak
I
rasa I boleh
understand. And I
terlampau tu.
totally, yeah, it's like, and I totally understand that. But I
Yeah.
know, like, I know this person who is doing so many wonderful things.
Mm.
And like yourself juga lah, you're doing so many amazing things, but
Mm.
you don't recognize that within
Mm-mm.
yourself. Now
Mm-mm.
that, to me lah, that
Mm.
one, you gotta work on that.
That's my thing to work on. Yeah.
It's like I think the advice would be that is to recognize what was it like growing up for you to make you feel like you're either not worthy of the success or
Mm-hmm.
whether you don't want to succeed in life or you can't succeed in life. I've got a friend who had a very, I mean, she's one of my favorite friends who we chat with about stuff lah and about life, that sort of thing. And we were talking about successes and confidence and whatnot. And she said it was only when she started spending time with our group of friends where she realized that she could dream big. She could dream bigger. She could dream bigger than what she initially had planned out. And I was like, why would you say that? Because the thing is, she was teaching for like, what, about 16 years, and her rates had not changed for 10 years. And I said to her, babe, why don't you increase your salary for your work? You've had so much experience. You have successfully gotten kids to do well in school and whatnot. Why don't you up your rate? And then she was like, I don't know. And then we got to this conversation where apparently she grew up having heard from her dad saying, don't expect to succeed in life because we're not meant for that. Our family memang is not meant for that. This is not our rezeki. Our rezeki, we're going to be poor forever, or we're just going to be here in this plane of success, whether it's monetary or whatever, forever. Macam tu. You'd be very surprised to have people like that. And then I shared this conversation with my friend, and then she basically said to me that it's so bizarre how her parent had always said, like, don't be too happy, jangan gelak banyak sangat, nanti you menangis. Pernah tak you dengar that saying from someone? You know, pernah kan? Jangan gelak sangat, macam tu, nanti you menangis. So those things will embed something in your mind to think that, alamak, does that mean if I'm happy, something bad is going to happen? If there's a lot of good things that's happening in my life, there's something that's going to take it away, that sort of thing. So it's like, those are traumas that the individual will definitely have to work towards. Identify it first and foremost, that if you feel like you're the kind of person who really can't see the good in yourself, despite having been told 1,000 times, I would say, darling, go to go to PPUM, go find yourself a psychiatrist or a therapist or counselor. They're a lot more affordable there. Dekat UM, I've been there before. My psychiatrist left to live in Penang, which sucks. But but I had to find a new one. But either ways, it's relatively decent, and there's so many clinics that you can look to that can be more affordable than not. But discussing and talking about it with someone to find out the root of where your fears lie is definitely one of the ways to do it. Because the thing is, it's like, any advice that I give to you won't change a thing if that person does not see confidence within themselves. I can help them as much as I want to, but then kalau diorang tak nampak benda tu, the vision for themselves, it's not gonna work. I've done it a lot of times, and I think that's why when I changed my foundation of who I am, and by saying that I'm a human who aims to help people. It used to be to help people, but then eventually I had to add in a disclaimer for myself. It's like, to help people within my capacity, because that's the only way that I can help.
Yeah, with what you can. I mean, at least you put that part of you out there to help with what you can. Because sometimes kita I don't want to say we are overachievers. Kita kadang-kadang overestimate ourselves. Sometimes, it's good to have that balance at some point. Like, you have certain dreams to be so big, but at the same time, when you work your way up, I think slowly take that step to like actually achieve bit by bit. Going back to your condition kan, or my condition too, as someone who has ADHD, betul tau, kita kalau tak buat semua everything at the same time, kita buat satu-satu, we kind of see that progress, betul tak?
Yes.
Tiba-tiba you kumpul balik yang you buat tu, actually you have done it all.
Yeah, you've done a lot. Exactly.
Kan?
Yes. It's like, that's why, like, whenever we talk about our life story, people will be like, wow, you've done a lot more than you realize.
Kan? It's the fact that's so sad that kita sometimes like want to see that, like, the bad, the negative side. Oh, tak cukup, tak ini, tak itu. Because of, like you said, tadi ada orang-orang yang macam ni. Jangan menangis, jangan ketawa sangat, nanti menangis. Jangan nak tunjuk-tunjuk sangat. Dia macam dah jadi generalization of that it becomes a core part of your life. Tapi I know they meant well. Because, betul, kadang-kadang bila nangis seronok-seronok sangat-sangat, mesti nangis ujung-ujungnya. Because dia terlampau banyak. Tapi kita, I think kita pun salah interpret benda tu. Kan we are sensitive. Like, I am a very sensitive person. If somebody told me that, I'm like, so tak boleh seronok lah. Tak boleh nak ketawa. Bila ketawa je nanti nak nangis. Kita memang ada nangis, ada ketawa, seronok sangat atau tidak.
Yes.
Kan?
Betul.
Kita tak seronok sangat pun, there will be a time kita akan menangis. Because, life just is like that. It's so natural to like have that up and down, the rise and fall and everything.
It's like what they should say is, be careful because when you are gelak-gelak, you akan menangis, tapi tak apa, you akan gelak lepas tu again. So it's just gonna come back and forth like that.
That's why in this journey, I think the narrative, what narrative you put out there for you and other people is so important. Because if that
Absolutely.
narrative you put on the wall,
Yeah.
that is going to be the path of your life.
Yes, exactly. And imagine having that as parents. Imagine having
Mm.
that as siblings, the people
Ah,
that are closest to you. And that's why, like, you gotta, it's like the only way to change your life with who you want to spend time with, you have to get to know yourself better. You
yeah,
have to
yeah.
understand what it is that you are, who you are, what you
Mm-mm.
strive to be. And from that point, like, you will realize, macam, you're just in the loop. Because, and I'll
Mm-mm.
give you a perfect example, okay? So, like, a
Mm.
few years back, I was in, like, this group of friends, and, we had fun hanging out with each other, like, macam borak-borak, tak ingat
Mm.
dunia kind of situation. And it
Mm.
was eat, drink, sleep, repeat kind of situation, like, every
Yeah.
weekend, it's just the same thing again and again and again. And for a while, it got really fun. But I think there was something about it that it was that point of time when I got diagnosed. And when I got diagnosed, I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna make some changes. And I
Mm-hmm.
think I'm starting to notice some things. So I'd like to invite my friends to be part of those changes sekali lah. But then a few of them were like, oh no, that's not gonna happen. We're all just gonna do the same thing again and
Mm-mm.
again.
Mm-mm.
And I was like, hang on a second, that totally hit me. That when I hung out with them the next 5 times, it was literally the same thing. Same
Mm.
crazy shenanigans, same crazy, like, macam benda bangang-bangang and all
Mm-mm.
that. Like,
Mm-mm.
and then I started to notice, bila I nak cakap pasal benda serious, semuanya avoiders. They were all avoiders. And then I
Mm.
started to realize, like, hang on a second, like, am I at that crossroad right now where I've been just lingering here having
Mm-mm.
fun so that I
Mm-mm.
don't have to make a hard decision whether I move forward in my life without these people and whatever? And it was so crazy because, like, I think I started to realize that because they were avoiders, and hello, misery loves company, yeah? And
Mm-mm.
I was like looking at myself. I'm not going to say that I wasn't avoiding something. I was clearly avoiding something in my life that I joined the bandwagon and I started to follow suit. But when I wanted to finally make a change and break free from that, yeah lah, it was sucky lah. Like, turns out these guys aren't exactly like your truest friends that you
Yeah.
spend time
Yeah.
with.
Yeah.
But there was nothing wrong with that because, like, years down the road, like recently, I went back to one of my friends who I'm still friends with, of course, and she's still in that gang. And I asked her, like, so how's everyone?
Mm.
The same. It's just the same. It's literally the same thing. And
Mm.
I'm like, what? It's
Mm-mm.
been years later and you guys still do the same thing?
Uh-uh.
Like, I mean, not to say that they're not successful in their work and progression. I'm talking about their
Yeah.
personal lives, like their
Yeah.
personal
Yeah.
selves
Yeah. I know what you
that they
mean.
want to develop, like, to get out of this, like, why do
Mm-mm.
you have to go out in the until the wee hours of the morning, party until 4 o'clock in the morning, that sort of
Still?
thing? Like, why? Yeah, dude. I
Huh?
mean, like, we're in our mid-30s, okay?
Yeah,
Like, I'm done.
I probably went once or twice in this lifetime now
Yes,
today, but I tak
yes,
adalah nak
yes.
every weekend dah. Macam tak boleh,
Agak,
tak lah ada.
faham, faham.
Tak
I
ada
pernah,
lagi.
like,
Ada lagi macam tu.
ada,
Oh.
ada,
Oh.
So that's the thing tau. You tengok lah. I don't want to look down on them, okay? So that's the
No,
thing.
we're
Like,
not
I have
looking
to
down
put
at
this out.
them. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
It's
no.
like, as a full disclaimer, like, I'm not looking down on them. Like, their life and where they are at this point of time, if it suits them, then let it be. And it's like,
Mm-mm.
but you have to recognize something for yourself to decide.
Yeah.
And it's okay to break away from all of that, even though you feel like you might have a community behind you for what you are doing. The reality of it
Mm-mm.
is this: when you want to strive for something, you will meet with people who will try to help you
Mm-mm.
or who just dislike you and are macam non-supportive and all of that.
Mm-mm.
But the thing is, apa benda negatif orang cakap dekat you kena selalu ingat benda ni.
Mm.
That thing that they just said, is it constructive criticism ke dia subjective criticism?
Mm.
Kalau dia constructive criticism, maknanya contohnya lah, you say to me, oh Diana, I saw your podcast the other day. I noticed that you said a lot of ums and us, and I noticed that you could be clearer with this word, or like, I noticed you macam goyang kaki too much. Maybe you should try to
Oh.
this. So now, if you said to me like that is constructive criticism. Then to me, I'll be like, oh, okay, I will be very mindful of that the
Yeah.
next time around.
Yeah.
So if I take that as a negative thing from you, that's a me thing, not a you thing, because it's a constructive way of looking at things.
Yeah.
But then, kalau you cakap dekat I, Diana, I dengar your podcast hari tu, tak seronok lah.
Hmm?
Contohnya kalau you cakap macam tu, tak seronok lah. I'll be like, okay, and then, like, like, so like, what am I supposed to do about that? Like, you don't even know. So when someone says something to you like that in a negative connotation, but does not give you a constructive criticism rather than a subjective criticism. Sebab apa yang seronok? Seronok tu subjective. Macam like eating good food is
Yes,
subjective.
betul,
Food is subjective.
betul.
So comment macam ni, when you hear someone say a subjective criticism to you, you take it with a pinch of salt, or you just say like, thank you for your feedback. Okay, moving on in my life.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
when it comes to real criticism, constructive criticism, by saying, this, I noticed this, and you can improve on this. They pointed out something very specific that you can actually improve on. That is constructive criticism. And that is something that you should always consider listening to. Because, like, we'd rather, this is a quote from someone, again, I really wish I had this in hand right now, but someone had said, Norman something Peale said something. He was saying that we'd rather fail with praise than be saved with criticism.
Yes, yeah.
So it's like you constantly want, even with the people around you who give constant validation, is also not necessarily the best thing juga. You gotta
Betul.
have
Yeah.
someone playing devil's advocate every now and then, making you question whether your actions or your decisions are correct, because that will only solidify it even more in the future. Kalau you feel like macam this has led me to me really not trusting my gut, really making me feel super confused about my life, then continue to ask more questions instead of saying, I give up lah. So don't let your fear and ego come to you. Always say like, let me become a student again and let me learn. Is this what I want to do? Is this the correct way? So I'll ask people. Macam itulah.
I rasa Tina tu yang cakap tak seronok.
Selalu balik Tina kan? Selalu balik.
Tina ni nak jaga you, Tina.
Kau tunggu Tina.
Kau
You
tunggu, Tina. Tak seronok. Tak seronok kat Tina, seronok kat orang lain. Sibuk aja.
But that's the whole point. But that's the whole point.
Betul.
It's people like Tina who will say things like, I mean, we're going to try to turn her into a real character, right?
Yeah.
Tina is the kind of person who basically, unfortunately, does not have real constructive criticism. It's always, she thinks it's a basis of a constructive criticism, but at the end of the day, it's very subjective. And kadang-kadang, it's downright untrue. So it's like, you gotta identify these people in your life, whether you say like, is this the kind of person yang macam I betul-betul want to spend time with? Can I genuinely find true knowledge from this person? And this is the part where it became so unfortunate, because I have a friend, dia macam, he had cut off some people in his life, and the words he used, this might sound very harsh, but I somehow macam boleh resonate. I can understand. It's like he says, they no longer add value into my life.
Yeah, betul.
And I no longer add value into theirs. So you gotta come to that point. Because the thing is, it's not just they don't add value into your life tau. It's like, say for example, you and I, we rely on each other for advice gitu. Kononnya lah.
Yeah.
Because we want to like, talk about life and everything. So contohnya, you come to me and you tell me all about your life problems and everything, as an example, and I give you advice.
Yeah.
And then you don't listen to it, and you still do what you need to do. But then I still I do the same thing where I come to you for advice. You give me advice that I don't listen to it. So in the end, it's like, what's the point? We're just really here to talk about what really, or like, what is the barter system of our friendship for us to actually grow and succeed in life? What is the point of it? So if I don't give something to you that is positive in your life, and I'm constantly yapping on you and making you feel like crap, and you're constantly making me feel insecure about myself, we don't add value into each other's lives. So we have to openly admit to that. We can't just say, you don't add value into my life, because that is just very that's just putting yourself on a high horse lah, to think that you are better than another person. But you also have to look at it in a way where, do I benefit that person or not? Do I add value into that person's life? And when these group of friends that I had sort of cut myself from, I had made it very clear to one of them, and I said, that, I think that I'm going to stop hanging out with the group. Unfortunately, it's come to this point where I don't think we add value into each other's lives anymore. And then he was like, how could you possibly say that? Like, I mean, that's obviously a massive insult to say to someone. And
Mm-mm.
it's a mean thing to
Mm-mm.
say. It's a very,
Mm-mm.
very mean thing to say. But I was like, look, in my perspective, it's like this. Every time, like, we hang out with each other, we give each other the good times that we need to, in the now, to avoid the things that we are actually feeling. At the
Mm-mm.
point that we want to talk about real feelings, we all choose to avoid it. How could that be adding benefit to our lives for each other? And, it's like, clearly, even if, and then he's like, oh, but you always are here for us when we talk about problems and stuff like that. And I'm like,
Mm-mm.
yeah, we talk about it in the most surface level way
Mm.
possible, that
Mm-mm.
it doesn't even begin to scratch the surface.
Yeah.
How could you even think that that is beneficial for you? Like,
Mm-mm.
what is the purpose? Like, to me, it doesn't make any sense. And in the end, I'm like, sorry, lah, guys. Like, thank you for the great times. I
Mm-mm.
have to exit myself, and I just, this is what I need to do at this point in my life.
And also, non-constructive criticism
Mm-mm.
usually stem from, dengki or jealous ke apa, sebab dia tak ada nak constructive criticism dah. Dia start lah
Sis,
guna attack you,
betul.
apa
Sis,
tak
betul. Sebab
seronok
dia tak
lah.
ada.
Daripada
Sebab
tak
dia
ada.
tak ada.
Sebab
Sebab
bagus.
dia tak ada.
Ya, ataupun tak ada
Ah.
constructive criticism yang boleh diberi, cannot give you any
Mm.
form, dia start lah
Mm.
attack you macam tu, tak
Mm.
seronok lah. Because
Mhm.
like recently tak pernah lah dapat attack macam ni, like he sucks, he is unoriginal, he is satu lagi ni best, he is retarded.
Kurang ajar.
Ini memang attack. Ini I tahu dah. Bila start posting on comments macam ni, I macam, oh, ini sebab dah tak ada benda lain nak komen. Dia nak negatif juga, dia terpaksa tulis benda-benda macam tu. And create fake account dalam 3 minggu bulan lepas macam tu, just to do that to me. So I faham tau bila orang buat macam tu kat you kan, podcast ke, you as a person ke, because dia tak ada benda lain dah dia nak attack.
Memang, because at the end of the day, it says more about them than it does about you.
Exactly.
It really does. It's like,
Yes.
and like, it was so interesting, tau, like talking about like social media and like putting words out there and stuff like that. So it's like, it's so hilarious how, like, I have a love-hate relationship with social media. Like, I genuinely have a love-hate relationship because the comment section below, everyone suddenly thinks their opinion matters. That's one thing that I have to say. And I'm sorry lah, like, I've learned to not say anything unless it's completely necessary to say.
Yes.
Like, kalau kau tak payahlah letak input. Kalau input you, sebenarnya kau ni siapa nak cakap benda macam ni. It's like, why can't you be a lot more supportive? And more importantly, it's like, because of this whole social media factor that they can hide behind their phones and the screens and the keyboards or whatever, right? They genuinely think, they forget the fact that kau ni bukan manusia ke? Like, it's like, you're still a human being. Can you imagine someone doing the exact same thing to you? And in fact, if you can say it to a person's face, that exact same thing, the person that you're trying to, you're saying like, okay, you punya, he podcast is retarded, he is retarded, would you say that to him, to him, the host, in his face? Tak. Kalau tak, then kau diam. Like, kau jangan nak mengengada, because it says so much about you than it does about this person. At least this person is trying something, you know?
Yes.
Like,
Macam berani kan. Sebab dia tak tulis the word macam lagi tu lagi I tak suka. Tapi dia tu guna retarded. So macam okay lah, ni memang maybe dia upset. So I, like you said, I just took it with a pinch of salt, and I'm like, apa je lah. When we put ourselves in public macam itu, biarlah, tak boleh nak control kan. Kita restrict aje lah. So
submission lah, life is like that. It happens, and like, people like this will exist, but the thing is, put at the end of the day, like, babe, I mean, this sounds like damn morbid as hell lah, but like, I think about death all the time.
Me too.
As often as I possibly could.
Me
and
too.
Because of that, right? Like, it's so hard to find someone who does that. And the thing is, when you forget of your mortality, when you forget your mortality, you think that life is all in this dunya and you can do anything you want. But the reality of it is, we're all going to die, and then we're all going to cease to exist. When the moments before you pass on to the light or whatever, before your roh leaves your body, and you might have that moment of your life flashing before your eyes. Do you want to look back and remember the fact that you made someone's life like hell? That you said something so nasty to a person? Can you like remember that? Would you be ready for that, to know that this is the last thing that you remember in your life? Memang tak ah. That to me is like, you want to talk about living life to the fullest? You do what is deemed good in this world, meaning be a good person, speak kindly to people, speak kindly about others, give charity, give back to your community, speak kindly to yourself, all those things. Inshallah lah, like if you were taken, like, you know, when the time is, it's time for you to go, to pass on from this life, then if you had a flashback in your life, at the very least, even if you didn't achieve to be Oprah Winfrey, even if I didn't achieve to be a seamstress, carpenter, or tour guide, or whatever it is that I want to do,
Yeah.
it's okay, because as a person in my foundation, the first layer, first and foremost, I've done that. I've done the things that I said I was as a person. And then these things, these hobbies, these jobs do not define me. But kalau orang macam ni yang komen macam laknat
Yes.
betul. Sorry,
Yes.
I'm sorry to say lah,
Kan,
macam
memang
jahanam
laknat.
betul lah.
Like, kenapa?
Like jahanam betul.
Kenapa?
I'm like, you
Where?
guys.
Where does that come from? Like,
I
mana
know, I
datang
macam
tu?
like, tak, I nak cakap kat diorang, babe, korang punya generational trauma ke trauma apa, I kesian tau. Sebab like, the only way that you would think that this is an okay thing to say is if this has happened to you. If you have seen this firsthand. So, tu yang sebenarnya, bila orang komen benda macam ni, yang langsung tak constructive, tapi macam subjective, I kesian. I sangat kesian. Only because it's like, you went through so much in your life, man, sampai the extent where you would say something like this, it goes to show you must have seen it somewhere.
Yes.
Someone has said this to you that you think it's okay to say to them. And like, so because of that, it feels as though that no one is there to really, truly, genuinely support you. That you feel genuinely happy within yourself. Because if you were genuinely really happy with yourself, you would never say this to another person. If you genuinely had gratitude for the things in your life, itulah, macam, it's crazy.
It's crazy. And also, wow, you know what? One of the most, beautiful, interesting, and very insightful conversation I've had. And I think I've discovered a lot in this conversation. I think how to open up to possibilities and trust the journey and basically manifest the life we want. And hopefully to remind us that everything happens for a reason. And the life we want and the life thought is within reach.
It really is.
And before we end the conversation, Diyana Hashim, what are your hopes and dreams for the future, both for yourself and your family? How do you envision achieving them while maintaining the balance you've created?
Well, I dream of a lot of things, but I truly, at this point of time, I only dream to live in the now, to be as present as possible, to just remain true to myself, be able to teach these things to my daughter. And my husband is the greatest supporter and wonderful human being that I will continue to hope and pray that his career grows. And despite any form of obstacles, one of the ways to balance it, because anything can happen from here on out, what I hope and pray for and how I will choose to live my life to find that right balance is to constantly have a sense of gratitude. Gratitude is actually just like the most ultimate key to the things that you have experienced. Every single thing that we do in life is a privilege without us even realizing it. So I really constantly want to remember that. I want to, just take things one step at a time and move slowly, because the world is just going by super fast that sometimes we get caught up with it, to avoid being part of the rat race for no apparent reason and just living the life that you were meant to live by just existing. Yeah.
Beautiful. Wow.
Thanks, babe.
You are an inspiration to me. I think
Allah, babe.
you really are. You really are. You know why I say this? Because I think some of the points here, like manifesting your dreams and then to trust this journey. Kalau negative your trust is, kalau negative lah your manifestation, your journey, your desire pun jadilah macam komen negatif tu. Betul? Kan? Tapi kalau tak, if it's sebaliknya,
Mm-hmm.
look at where we are today. I mean, we all go through something. We all go through ups and downs, rise and
Yeah.
fall, successes and
Yeah.
failures. They all just
Mm-mm.
there right in front of us. But I think Diyana
Yes.
Hashim, you envision, you reflect a story of courage and a story of resilience, and also very powerful, to come out and be honest with yourself and be truthful to this story that you come from somewhere, you are meant to serve a purpose, and your life is ahead of you, will be fulfilled and with meaning and purpose, without a doubt. And I
I
want to
hope
say thank
so.
you for sharing your story with me. You are an inspiration to me, and I'm proud of you. Keep continuing doing what you're doing. Mama's Here podcast will continue to be something that people can relate to,
Yeah.
something they can always refer to when they feel alone, especially mothers. I know mothers have done a lot in their shoulders. So,
Yeah, I think that's like the part of the trauma that whether it's mothers or any of us have experienced. I've pulled out something as my last thing that I want to share before. This is also another thing that I live by. The stages of grief kan. Tapi yang ni ada best sikit sebab the first stage of grief would be denial, the next part would be anger, the next one would be bargaining, and then depression, and then acceptance. But that's the thing, usually it's a 5 kan. After that is acceptance speech and then after party. So
mm.
always remember that.
I like
Always
that.
remember. Oh yeah. So remember that. That's the 7 stages of grief that
Yeah,
you should live
yeah.
by. It's the adding on the acceptance speech and the after party, because every form of down in your life is a form of celebration. It might take you 10 steps backwards, but it's gonna take you 15 steps forward. Yeah.
And
So
kalau dia
yeah.
repeat pun that cycle, tak apa. We're going to have to go
Yeah,
through it again.
sebab ada after party.
Yes.
Sebab ada after party.
Sebab ada after party. So that can repeat. So go through it again. Go through it all. Embrace it. Embrace yourself through that journey. Trust that process. And I hope we all
Yes.
get there. Thank you, Diana. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Support the He podcast via a one-time donation, a monthly subscription from as low as $1, a lifetime membership, and purchase He's exclusive collection of merchandise. And for all other business inquiries at buymeacoffee.com/Rafi. Thank you for listening to He. A new episode is available every Thursday, and don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. We'd love to hear from you. Follow me on social media at Rafi Ridzwan and at He Podcast for all the updates and behind the scenes. Once again, thank you for listening to He with Rafi Ridzwan.